Gamers, I'm Jason.
And I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we are going to be reviewing Robotech Attack on the SDF-1. Now, the game is produced under license from Harmony Gold by Japanime Games and Strange Machine Games. Now, the game is designed by Jeff McClinsky and Darius Hambleton. If you guys do happen to see the video and I made a mistake, feel free to let me know. With that being said, I'm going to toss it over to Julie, and she's going to tell you more about the game itself.
It's a cooperative game that plays 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and above, and plays in about 120 minutes.
Yeah, I think 14 and above is the right age range for this. It's not the easiest. And just to explain what you're going to be doing, well, for those of you that love Robotech, you're going to be playing through all of the episodes of Robotech. Well, maybe not all of them, just the ones with some cool space battles until the big space battle at the end. And what you're going to do is you're going to be protecting the SDF-1. This is a tower defense game. You've got 4 heroes that you can have in play, and you're going to be doing different actions using your heroes' abilities to protect your ship. With that being said, I think it's time for us to get ready. Maybe there's going to be some alarms going off soon. I got the feeling the Zentraedi are coming.
So what do? We grab our drinks?
We grab our drinks, grab our best friend. And take it to the table. Even though you're not that excited about this, because no. I'm the Robotech fan.
You're excited enough for both of us.
Well, you didn't watch Robotech. This was the show that made me stop liking all other kid shows and got me into Japanese anime. This was the one. It caused it all. It started it all. So, hoping this is good. Now we're going to take a look at the components for Robotech Attack on the SDF-1. And this may be the first time that I actually have components that are only visible to my right on the main camera, because we've got so much stuff set up here, and there's even still a little bit more in the box. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at these components on my right. We're going to start with our SDF-1, the Transformable Battle Fortress. Now, this is the battle mode of the SDF-1 ship that you can see right in front here. And when we get into the how to play, I'll teach you guys when you're going to be using the battle mode. We now have the 5 scenario books that come with the game. We'll just take a quick look at 2 of them. This is the training booklet, and the reason why I wanted to open this up is it gives you just a quick setup scenario, some challenges for you to play through as the different characters. So for example, this one is for Henry Global, and it's really just to teach you guys how to play the specific characters that is. And then if you're looking at the actual scenario books, which are divided up into 5 episodes, you get the summary setup for the game, and then the setup for each episode. Now, an episode is essentially 1 turn phase, and I'm just reaching around here. I don't want to knock over our Battle Fortress, and I did knock over Rick Hunter there. But this, in any case, moving on, you'll see the 2 reference cards that are in front of the board. The sequence of play represents 1 episode. What you've got right here is just a quick reference to all the symbols, what they mean. And since I'm going down the board, we'll just explain that there is the Zentraedi bag for pulling out enemies. Now, we've taken a look at the scenario books. The last thing I want to show you guys quickly is the rule book. And I keep knocking over the standees, but it's not that big of a deal. What we'll do is just take a quick look at what the rule book has. You can see nice images of the components, glossary right there for people that are new to Robotech, and a definitely very useful guide to all of the different game boards. Now, just going to put that back. We'll stand back up Rick Hunter, and then we're going to dive into the game boards. Now, we have 3 game boards that come with the game. You might be asking why 3? Well, the SDF-1 board is a separate board that gets placed, and I'm just going to fold this up right now, in the near and close area. So when you're setting up the game, pop out the SDF-1 board, and you place it as so, and you'll notice that the different sectors of the ship line up with different sectors on the board. Now this is the SDF1 danger board here. You use the population tracker to track your population. Then you'll be tracking damage, the amount of available mechs that you have, the heat on the Reflex cannon. If you're a fan of Robotech, you know exactly what that is. And then the hero actions, which is over there, the 1, 3, 5, and 6. How many actions your heroes can get a turn. And you do that by allocating population from the Macross population pool. Now don't worry, this is just really a quick overview of these components and to give you guys a little taste as to what is to come. Now what we'll do is, since I've already taken care of the stuff that's farther away from me, we're going to take a quick look at the tokens that I've placed next to the SDF1 danger board. Now, the tokens that we have over here next to the danger board, you've got the -1 and the +1 tokens. Just to remind you, when there are bonuses, there is the evade token right below the -1. The target token, which you may or may not use, that's really just for yourself to note areas where there's something interesting that may have happened or an ongoing effect. Used tokens are really placed when you may have used different mechs or activated specific enemies, just to remind you they've been used. Then after that, you've got the gun token, which represents damaged guns on the SDF1. After that, you've got the ability points, which would be placed here and tracks those special points. And then the research points that you will go there. Actually, I believe these are ability tokens, those are research points. Doesn't really matter. In any case, they do two different things. Now, we've taken a look at the stuff that is far away from me. Let's bring it in and let's start taking a look at the different characters that we're going to get in Robotech Attack on the SDF1. Now, we've got our 6 different characters. We have Stunt Pilot Rick Hunter, Ace Pilot Max Sterling, Wing Leader Roy Folker, Operations Claudia Grant, First Officer Lisa Hayes, and Captain Henry Global. I know, guys, that's not their real names if you actually prefer Macross to Robotech. I know them, Hikaru Chijo, Misa Hayase, but this is a Robotech game, so we are definitely going to be using their American or their Robotech versions of their names. Now, I'm just going to move Henry quickly and get him off the board. You'll notice that Rick is actually hanging out on Max's board, but we're going to take a quick look at the character boards. Now you will see your character health, what they can do in terms of movement. They can spend 1 action to generate 1 research point, and their starting location. This explains just the duties of the captain, the sort of summarize what you're going to be focusing on doing. Here you've got their abilities. So in this case, the captain can transform into battle mode. So that's when you may be using the battle mode. And then he's got another ability called Grit, which gives him some extra actions. Here you will see what costs 1 action marker, the different things he can do, and what location he needs to be in. For example, to fire the railgun, he must be in the bridge. To gain an evade token, he must be in the bridge. He can cool 1 reflex heat, and in that case, he needs to be in one of the different reactors. There is also actions that can cost 2 action markers. So for example, he may gain 3 research tokens, or at the cost of 3 action markers, fire the reflex cannon. And that is a pretty devastating move. So those are the hero sheets. And when we get into the how to play, I will take more time, show you guys the characters that we're playing, what they can do, and talk more about their actions. I really want to try to keep this as simple as possible for the components overview. Now, you will see that each character has their standee as well. And the one thing that's important to note is that the standees are different. I'm going to just pick up Claudia right here. You'll see that she's got the red Robotech Defense Force symbol as her standee. Don't know if I quite tilted that well. Whereas Roy, Rick, I'll pick up Max here, have their Veritech symbols on their standees. That's because these characters are considered always in their Veritechs and can fly out into space. Whereas your captain, first officer, and operations are not able to leave the ship. Now, we've taken a look at the characters. We talked about some of their actions. Let's take a look at the enemies that you're going to be facing in Robotech Attack on the SDF1, the Zentraedi. Now, I've already pointed out the Zentraedi bag, but here we've got our Zentraedi cards. So we've got the Zentraedi invasion cards, which will spawn enemies. And I've taken out a card just to give you guys a quick example. You'll see its rated difficulty, the effect of the card. It may have one ongoing effect, and then what you're going to be spawning. Don't worry, when we set up the game, we'll explain what the +4 means. So it's +4 battle pods in sector A2, which would be here. And this is +4 battle pods in sector A3, which is over there. Now, one thing I just want to note for those of you that maybe don't sit through the whole how to play or really want the index from the components, when you see a plus symbol, that means you're adding additional units to that sector. You may see a symbol that just says 1 cruiser or 4 battle pods. That means if there was already something in the area, so for example, let's say it said 1 cruiser in A6. If you already had a cruiser in A6, you would not be adding a second one. There would only be the 1 cruiser. If it was +1 cruiser, you would then move it up to 2. Now, that was just a quick example there to explain those cards. Now let's take a look at the Zentraedi orders. Now these are the different orders that you're going to get. You notice that each of these Zentraedi have a different symbol on them. Flagships all have their own symbol. So just to clarify, these are the battle pods. These 2 are hero pods here at the top. So battle pods, cruisers, flagships. Now, when you get the order cards, you're going to follow the orders in the sequence, going left to right. So hold this at the bottom, actually, left to right, for depending on the symbols that you have in play. So you'll notice there are 3 different kinds of battle pods, 2 different kinds of cruisers, and 1 kind of flagship. So those are the Zentraedi enemies that you're going to be facing. You've seen their tokens. I want to talk to you about the special enemies as well. You've got Chiron and Miria, and those are represented by the cards that I have centered right here. Now, what you will see is that you've got Miria Perina, there's Chiron. There are also some hero cards here. But when you spawn Miria, for example, and you need to draw a special event, these are 5 Zentraedi Invasion event cards that are special. There's a little X in the corner, meaning you only place them in when you're told to by the scenario. But in this case, you've got an explanation of Miria's abilities, what happens if she is defeated, and actually just a little bit of a spoiler, but not really if you know the show. If you do defeat Miria, you actually get an upgraded character card, which is one of these in the back here, for Max, making him more effective. Now, Minmay is also in there. I know I put up some pictures on a board game Facebook group, and some people don't like Minmay, but she's in the game, but she's not a playable character. So if she's your favorite, sorry guys, she's not yet a playable character in this, but she does make an appearance. Now, we've taken a look at the Zentraedis. Let's take a look at a few more of the different tokens that we have in the game. Now, right here, we've got tokens that are associated specifically with the SDF1 danger board. We have these 3 red damage tokens. We've got the permanent damage tokens, which would mean if for example, your bridge gets hit with overkill or damage to the command crew. These are separate than regular damage. That's why the command crew is a different color. So those get placed only in occasions where bad things happen. This is your Reflex heat tracker to track the heat of the Reflex cannon. And these are your character tokens. And what's pretty cool is they are double-sided. Like if you upgrade Rick, he's now in his flight leader, the wing leader suit. These are to track how many actions they're going to get over there in the hero action space. Now, we also have the pinpoint barrier token here, which I have next to the SDF1 resources because you can get it as an upgrade. And then we've got these action tokens. Now, each character starts with 2 actions. So for example, Henry Glover will have 2 actions, and then depending on what he does, he will spend these action tokens. We also have some objective tokens here, such as Saturn. It's double-sided. The objective may actually be Earth. You can see the objective of shelters here, and then the flip side of it is the city center. And there's another city center objective as well. But we've taken a look at the tokens now. You got an idea of how you're going to be spending your actions, what you're going to be doing. Let's take a look at the cards that we're going to be using with regards to our heroes and the SDF1 itself, as well as, that thing that really stood out for those fans of Robotech, the Mecha and the Veritex and Destroids. Well, we have 3 card decks that we're going to be using as the heroes. There are the Mecha orders cards, which will give orders to the different types of Mecha that you have. We have the Veritex, Super Veritech, regular Veritech, the Scouts, which are on the bottom right here, and the Destroids. These are the SDF1 incident cards, meaning bad things may happen. Now, Pilot Sacrifice, just to give you an idea what one is, I'm not going to pick up the cards. I'll just read it. Destroy any one active Mecha and annihilate up to 2 pods in the same area. If you do not have any Mecha on the board, draw the card again. So these things can be good or bad. It's not necessarily a bad thing to blow up a ship and annihilate 2 pods. There's damaged and annihilated. We'll talk about those 2 different conditions as we teach you more in the how to play. And then you've got the SDF1 resources, which would give you such, as I mentioned before, the pinpoint bearer, the fence system, or even upgrade your tech, for example, like Super Veritex, whereas normally you can only craft and build Veritex, you can construct and build Super ones now. And before we move on too far, let's take a closer look at the orders. Now, you've got the arrow here, which symbolizes movement, how much you may move a Veritech. In this case, it's damage of 0. They don't do any damage. Not that much fun. You can only activate each Mecha once per your turn. For the Destroids, it's the same thing. It will move 1 and do no damage. But with the Scouts, this is actually a pretty good Scout card because you can inflict 2 damage to the area that you're scouting. We'll talk about Scouts in the how to play more. Or heal 2 hero pilot damage, meaning if you're in the same spot as one of the hero pilots, you can heal them. Now, we've done it. We've taken a look at all of the different components for Robotech Attack on the SDF1. Now we're going to take you guys through the setup. After the game is set up, we're going to take a closer look at the hero phase, the different enemies, and we'll talk a little bit about the strategy and take a look at the units and the differences between some of the units, because using your units effectively is really key to being able to win this game. Now, keep it right here because we're going to space fold across the galaxy and be back in command of the SDF1. Now we're going to set up Robotech Attack on the SDF1. You may be wondering why you can only see the board here. That's because on our second camera we have our characters as well as the SDF1 danger board. And I've also decided to take out the reference cards, and we're going to keep the Zentraedi over here. Now the game is just big, as you can see, from this and this, meaning we needed 2 camera shots. Now we're going to go ahead and get everything set up. And to do that, we're going to start by taking a look at the scenario. So we're going to start with scenario 1, Far From Home, and we are going to go and follow the setup instructions. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the token setup, and we're going to set up the SDF1 danger board first. Now, I've already pre-prepared the tokens. We are going to set up the maximum amount of Mecha for the scenario, which is 9 Veritex, and got some of them trying to escape and get into battle already. 3 Super Veritex. We have 6 Destroids. We also have the Scouts, which I'm just going to put up here and make sure that they're available. And then we've got 2 monsters. And we need to set the macro city population to 7 and also get the heat for the Reflex Cannon onto the danger board. We're then also going to take our hero actions, and just for the sake of getting them onto the board, we're going to place them all in the one spot for the moment. We're going to assign them to different locations on the board as we go along. Now, let's take a look. So we've gone ahead and set up the maximum RDF Mecha. We then need to get the ability points, so we need to place 3 ability points onto the game board. Then we get the heroes into their starting area. Then we're also going to assign some of the Mecha. I'm just going to take the scenario and put it off camera. We will then place our heroes, Henry J. Global, on the bridge. Lisa Hayes on the bridge. Roy Fokker, he starts in production. And Claudia Grant also starts in production. Now, we picked these 4 characters because of what is written in the scenario book. These are the suggested starting heroes. If you wanted to play like 5 players, the Stun and Ace pilots may also be played, but ideally they would potentially replace the wing leader. So that would mean you could play as Rick or Max if you so chose. Now there's a special setup for the cards, for these Zentraedi invasion cards. So we need to remove all of the X cards from the deck, which I've done. And then we're going to draw 15 cards and mix in 2 of those X cards. Now I'm going to go over to the other camera and we'll do it there. We've got the 2 X cards that we need, Kairon's Fury and Minmay's Drama. I've already shuffled this, so we're going to just take the top 15 cards. So there we go, 15 cards. These are going to be the ones at the base. We take the 2 X cards and we're going to shuffle them into the deck. And we're going to then place these 15 cards at the top of the deck. So we've gone ahead and done that. And the Zentraedi invasion cards are now set up. We'll go back to our other camera for the top down and take a look at what else we need to do. So that's just the Zentraedi invasion cards. So the special rules right here, we already set up the Macross population to 7. So the SDF-1 cannot transform until episode 2. So facing rotate the SDF-1, so the forward reactor faces A1. As you can see, forward reactor is facing A1. It's already been set up properly. So just a special note, when the SDF-1 transforms into battle mode, Macross City takes 1 structure damage. So don't forget that when it transforms, Macross City will take 1 damage. And the Reflex cannon cannot be fired until episode 2. Now, we still need to place the Mecha onto the board. Now we place 4 Veritechs in the hangar and 1 in a random inner area. Then we roll a d6 and place the Veritech in the resulting inner space area. We also place 3 Destroids in any SDF-1 area. Now, we will take our 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, place them in the launch bay. We are going to take our 3 Destroids, get them out on the ship, place 1 in Macross City. I'll place 1 in the forward reactor, and let's get 1 aft reactor as well. And I'll just see what the other rules are. 4 Veritechs in the hangar and 1 in a random inner area. So we will roll a d6 and place the Veritech in the resulting inner area space. All right, that means it's going to go in this inner area here. So we will roll the d6. It goes in 4. We'll take the Veritech, and he will spawn in A4, which corresponds with the dice. So we've now gone ahead and set up just about all of the game. We just need to place the other cards out and the ability points. So we've got the Mecha order cards. I want to shuffle them up just a little bit. Place them out on the board. We have the Zentraedi order cards, which will shuffle up as well. Place out on the board. The SDF-1 incident cards, which will then place on the board. The SDF-1 resource cards, which will then also be placed on the board. And don't forget, we need to set up the Zentraedi. We've got our nice Zentraedi bag. I've already put some of the guys in. You're going to put all of the villains into the Zentraedi bag. Oh, Paddlepod's already trying to get into combat. You'll place them there. You'll take the 3 ability tokens and place them in their proper position on the game board. Now, we'll double check. We have gone through and set up the scenario Far From Home. We are then going to go into the specific setup for episode 01 Booby Trap, but because I don't want to keep this going on too long, we will cut right here, and we'll be back with the setup for the episode 1 Booby Trap. And we're also going to take a look at how you use the mechas and also some of the characters' abilities. So keep it right here. We're going to be folding space in just a moment. Now you'll notice I've set up some random Veritex and enemies, Destroids on the game board. The reason for that is we're going to go through the different character actions. Not all of them, but I want to give you an idea of what the characters can do. We're also going to talk about the resource centers that can be used on the Macross. Now, we're going to start with Lisa Hayes. Now, Lisa has a few different actions. We'll cut over to the other camera so you can see. She may fire, we'll pick up this actually and just sort of center it. So she may fire 1 beam cannon if she's in the bridge. She may activate 1 resource center. She may move 2 Veritex 1 space. She can shift 1 structure damage, order 1 scout, order 2 Destroids, reveal the top Zentraedi order card, and fire all guns. Now, we're not going to go through every action or all of the different abilities, but we'll take a look at Lisa's here. So, for example, you may spend an ability point, and Lisa will provide all other heroes with +1 action marker. This can be done anytime during the hero phase. There's also the Daedalus maneuver, where she will inflict 8 damage to a Zentraedi capital ship. Can only be used when the ship is in battle mode. Now, let's take a look at firing 1 beam cannon. We've got the beam cannons here on the Macross. They were able to attack and damage ships in the inner space area. You'll notice it says beam cannon range. So, for example, Lisa fires a beam cannon. She will deal 1 damage to the enemy. Now, it's important to note that each enemy, in order to defeat it, you need to deal 2 times the amount of damage that's on it. And just to give you guys an idea of what it is, you will see it is 1 for the battle pods, 4 for the cruisers, and 6 for the flagships. If something is not annihilated, it will still get to act on the Zentraedi orders phase. Don't worry, you'll see that when we actually do the how to play. I just want to go really through the hero actions. Now, activating a resource center. Now all of these cost 1 action token, 1 action marker, before I forget. And these ones cost 2 or 3. Don't worry, we'll take these off properly when we do the how to play. But for the moment, I just wanted to show you the action markers, but we're really just giving you examples of all the different actions. Now, what Lisa can do is I said the Macross name, sorry, Lisa can do. She is able to move, excuse me there, around the ship and activate the different things. Now, the training center lets you upgrade 2 units. So you can upgrade a Destroid to the monster, a Veritech to a Super Veritech. You can heal 2 heroes from the hospital, and this is any 2 heroes, no matter where they are. The lab lets you draw the top card of the SDF1 resource token. You have the Reflex Furnace, which lets you cool 2 heat. You can also trigger the launch bay to launch Veritex. And then there's also the construction to create new Veritex and Destroids. Now, you'll notice that with regards to Claudia Grant, she can also use the construction of Destroids and Veritex. The reason we're talking about these different resources is that each of the resources can only be triggered once per game, except if you're Lisa. So Lisa, for example, not once per game, sorry, once per episode. Lisa can trigger multiple ones. The heroes do get 1 free triggering of resources. So for example, if Henry J. Global started in science at the start of the game, he could decide to draw the top card of the SDF1 resource deck, and that would be the one resource that the heroes can use. Now, Lisa can do other ones, but no other hero would be able to use one of the resources of the SDF1 in that scenario. Now, so that's what it means by activate resource. Now we've got the other one here, which is move 2 Veritex 1 space. Very simple. She can pick 2 Veritex, move them each a space. And that's the same for everyone, so we're not going to go over that again on other characters. Now, shift 1 structure damage means that if, for example, the reactors are damaged by 1, she could shift that to another area. Now, we'll just put that back there for the moment. Actually, we'll get rid of it. We don't need to get distracted. Now you also see here we've got Order 1 Scout. Now this is an ability particular to Lisa. She can do it from the bridge. So she can order a scout to scout an area. We'll say it's scouting A4. You can only scout one area per episode, so she can't scout A4 again. You will draw the Mecha order card, and then you will see what you can do. You may destroy 2 pods in this area, or move 2 Veritex 1 space towards this area. You get to decide which one of these actions you would like to do. And that is scouting. Now she may order 2 Destroids, which is the same as ordering Veritex. You would once again draw, and I just put it back, but we'll draw it anyway. You would draw the top 2 cards of the Mecha order deck, and then you resolve them one by one. So let's take a look at what we can do in the different scenarios. And then we'll also take a look at what would happen with ordering Veritex. Now, ordering Veritex is what Roy is good at doing, as well as Henry J. Global. But trying to keep this simple, I just really want to go through the different actions. All right. Now, let's take a look at this a little bit closer. So the Destroids, it can move 2, deal 1 damage, or move 3 and deal 0 damage. This other Destroid can just deal 1 damage, or move 3 and deal 0 damage. We don't really want to move 3. And just to point out, the Destroids can attack the area that they're in on the Macross, and also the adjacent space areas. Now, the monsters, and one of the reasons why they are so valuable, are actually able to target the outer areas and can even damage capital ships. So if we want to take out that cruiser, for example, that monster can shoot and deal 1 damage to a cruiser. Now, what's important to notice is once you've ordered a mech, you flip it over, you cannot order that same mech again during the turn. For example, and then let's see what the other one would be. If we did a 2 and a 1, we can move this Destroid 2 and deal 1 damage to either this pod or, for example, annihilate this one, just get rid of it. Now let's say this is what Roy had done, and Roy was ordering Veritex. It would be the same thing. Now, with regards to the Veritech, it can either move 1 and deal 2 damage, move 6 and deal 0 damage, and in this case, it would be 2 and 1 damage, or move 4 and 0 damage. Now, the interesting thing here is that the Super Veritech, you get to combine both of those orders, which is why it's so valuable, meaning this thing could move 7 and deal 2 damage. And he can just like fly all the way over to A2, pow pow, and deal 2 damage to the flagship. Whereas with the regular Veritex, they can only do the 2 and 1. They don't have to move, so this one could just stay here and deal 1 damage to the cruiser, or move 1, 2, and damage a pod. Notice I only move the Veritex that are in the field. We cannot move the Veritex that are in the hangar. And that would be ordering your Destroids and ordering your Veritex. We'll just put the cards back. And then let's go back over to some of the actions. Now we're not going to take a look at these special actions. They may show up during the game. We will talk about firing the Reflex Cannon once we take out the battle mode of the SDF1. I just want to point out that each hero can also just take 1 action to gain a resource token. That is 1 action if you'd like to so do that. You notice that the captain from anywhere can heal 1 hero damage. And then he can also, from the bridge, gain 1 evade token. And I don't have those out, but evade tokens will let you avoid 1 damage. I've got the tokens behind me. If we need them, we can do it. We've sort of gone over everything else here except for the railguns. Now, what's important about the railguns is they have this firing arc of 2 sectors of the front of the ships. These are the railguns. So it can target the Macross City arc and the Science arc, or the production arc and the forward reactor. Now, what happens is railguns can only hit capital ships, but they can shoot into the outer area. So that's why they are very important. Now, we'll move over to Claudia. So with regards to constructing 1 Veritech and constructing 2 Destroids, very simple. We'll just take guys that are already out. You would decide to build them, and we'll move Claudia over. They would go face down, and then they would enter play during the following episode. Now, she can also repair 3 armor, repair 1 structure, meaning if areas are damaged, we'll just throw out some damage here. She's able to do all of the repairs. What is important to note is where she can do it. So repair 3 structures, it says area. Or repair 3 armor, it says area, meaning she would have to be in the area. So she's in production. She could use 1 action to repair 2 armor. Now, she could also then use 1 action to repair 1 structure. She cannot repair stuff unless she's in the area, which in the case, you will see over here, she is in production, which is why we use that as the example. Now, if we go back to her thing, she can cool 1 reflex heat from the reactor, order 2 destroids. Now, she can repair 3 structure using 2 action markers. Very good. She can also use 3 action markers to cool down the reactor, and she's got some cool special abilities right here. Before I forget, the health of each hero is listed there, and their move action is listed there. You can also spend an extra action to move 1 more. Now we're going to go and take a look at Roy. So what Roy can do is move all Veritechs in an area 1 space, meaning if we had a nice group, and we'll just take these guys and deploy them quickly. 4 of them, he can move all of them 1 space, which is a cool ability. He's able to launch 3 Veritechs, and we'll pick these guys back up. Put them into the hangar, meaning he can launch them from the launch bay into space, get them into the battle. So they can go into any adjacent space. And then he's also able to inflict 1 damage, because don't forget Roy is in a Veritech, so by spending 1 action, he can deal 1 damage. So if this battle pod here was damaged, he could inflict 1 damage and get rid of it. Now, we've gone over really all of the different actions. You can see the way everything works. You're only going to ever be dealing 1 damage unless you fire the Reflex Cannon, which just annihilates everything. And don't worry, I will explain that as we get into the how to play. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get everything nice and clean back up, and then we're going to go through the setup for episode 1. I really just want to go through the hero actions, take a look at the different mechs, what they're able to do, what area they're able to target, because that was one of my frustrations when I was learning the game. So keep it right here, and we'll fold space some more and be back with the setup and the play through of the first episode of the Scenario 1, Far From Home. Now let's set up the first episode, Booby Trap, from the first scenario, Far From Home. Now, the first thing we need to do is go through the situation. That's what we're going to be doing at the start of sort of each phase. You can see the sequence of play right here, which says play story phase. And don't forget, you can play the SDF1 resource cards at any time. Now, so with Booby Trap, the SDF1's Reflex Cannon automatically fires on the approaching Zentraedi fleet. We must roll 1d6 plus 2, so 5, 7. So we do the Overlord chart and apply any structural damage. Heroes take damage as normal. So that was not a good roll. We take 7 damage right off the bat. So 4 areas on the ship take 1 damage. And we're going to put it in the one in the science where we're not, one in the reactors. Now, the reactors, the aft and the forward share the same damage track right here. Then, where else are we not? We did science. We can do one in Macross City. We can also do one in the launch bay. Now, we've dealt out the damage. Now, with untested equipment, the SDF-1 has not been battle tested and much of the crew is inexperienced. We draw and play 2 SDF-1 incident cards. All right, going over here, we grab the first one. Event, research breakthrough, gain 2 research tokens. So that actually is a good card. And then, so as you can see, the incidents aren't always bad for the players. And let's draw the next one. We get Advanced Mecha, replacing a total of 2 Mecha with Super Veritex or Monster Destroids. If you do not have at least 1 Mecha, draw again. Well, we're not drawing again. We're going to upgrade our stuff, which is fantastic. And we want to get, you know what? I was thinking about the Super Veritech. I really want some monsters. Stuff that can shoot farther is always better, in my opinion. So we get to upgrade them. Now our monsters are in play. These guys will then now be returned to the maximum mecha pool. All right, let's go back to the scenario. We have our objectives. Now, defend the city center. Pause, invade the city, and target civilians. Defend the civilians and give them time to reach the shelters. Place the city shelter objective token with 4 pods on it in a random outer area. These pods do not move off the token. Now, the reason we're doing this, even though we're in space, it's really to simulate the attack on Macross Island. Now, we will go ahead and set this up. Just to note our reward, if all pods are destroyed by the end of the episode, gain 1 ability point and 1 research token. And also, defend the SDF-1 during the attack. The SDF-1 becomes overwhelmed by battle pods. Orders come in to support the fortress. If there are no pods in the inner or SDF-1 areas by the end of the episode, gain 1 ability point and 1 research token. Well, we've got our objectives. Let's take a city center objective. We're going to roll the dice here, see what we get. So it goes into outer area A2. Place at an outer area A2. We're going to grab 4 battle pods. And trolley back. You'll then place these 4 pods in the city center. And I know I'm blocking the camera view a little bit, but let's try to get them right side up so it looks better for you guys. All right, so we've got them on there. Now, what's interesting is these guys will not be attacking the SDF-1. They're only attacking the city center. They are a special objective. Now, the last thing was draw one Zentraedi invasion card. Now, we'll draw the card, and let's see what we get. Well, alien synthesizers. So replace 2 active mecha in any one area with pods. Well, our mecha is all spread out. So I guess we're going to just replace our Veritech with a battle pod because there's nothing else that we can do. I'm going to put this down. Veritech, goes back over here. We'll draw a battle pod. It also says to draw a cruiser. So we'll just place those out. And we also draw another 4. We got 4 more battle pods. Put the bag back down, and we're going to take this over to our playboard. So we get +1 cruiser in A5. Cruiser is here. We get +4 pods in A2. Now the way this works, 2 pods spawn in the outer area. And the other 2 go in the inner area, and we have a battle pod here. Now, the reason why we only replaced 1 active mech is because we do not have 2 active mechs in any areas. We don't want to lose our monsters. We can launch some Veritechs. And we've now resolved this card, so discard it. And the game is now set up. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut, and we'll come back with the hero phase. It is now the hero phase, and we need to do a lot of stuff. The first thing we need to do, though, is assign actions. And we've got a lot of stuff to kill. And just looking at what we need to do, I'm going to think that Lisa and Roy probably need the most actions, and we can spend our 7 population. So as you can see, they get 5 action markers, cost 3. They get 3 extra action markers, cost 2, and 1 extra, cost 0. Now, I'm going to assign Lisa to 5, Roy to the 3, and leave the other ones there. We will now deal out all of their actions. Captain Global gets 3 actions. Claudia gets 3 actions. Roy gets 5. And Lisa gets 7. 4, 5, 6, 7 actions. All right, so we've got a lot of stuff that we need to do. And we need to deal a fair amount of damage. Now we get to decide who starts, and then it's going to go around clockwise. So this is going to be my clockwise. And we can either pick or roll a die. It's co-op. I prefer picking. I'm going to decide that we start with Lisa, because we've got a lot of stuff going on, and things don't look the greatest out there. Well, we can activate a resource center. We can move. We can also order scouts. I'm actually going to try scouting. Let's see what happens if I try scouting. So we will spend 1 action. I'm then going over to the game board. We get our 1, so we're able to scout, destroy 2 pods in this area, or move 2 Veritex 1 space towards this area. We're going to destroy 2 pods. And I'm scouting A2, obviously. That's where I got the most guys to get rid of. Now we'll take the scout token, place it in A2, and luckily we can actually destroy the pods on the city objective. As these pods will not move and will not activate, I'm just going to take them and remove them because they will not activate with the Zentraedi orders. These are special pods. And that gets us a little bit closer to our objective. Now we can fire some beam cannons, which is not a bad idea. And we're still on the bridge, so I'm actually going to spend 3 actions to fire. Well, you could fire all guns, but no, I want to fire some beam cannons. Deal some damage, which means we deal 1 damage to this guy, and we deal 1 damage to each of these guys, meaning they'll be destroyed later on. We're doing some good stuff. And now I think it's time to make some moves. We'll move 1 out of the bridge, because I'm going to start using the destroids. And we're going to activate the training center to upgrade 2 of our Veritex. Take them over here to the Super Veritex. We need to get some guys that are stronger into this battlefield. Now I've used 1 of my movements, so I can still move around. I've used the training center, and that was our free activate. And don't forget, Lisa can use an action to use another one of those resources, maybe get even a resource card, which I think is what we'll actually do. We're going to move our other 2 movement, 1, 2, to science. We're going to spend an action to draw the top resource card. Now, what do we get? Check. The SDF-1 may negate all barrage damage from 1 Zentraedi capital ship. Gain the pinpoint barrier. Now, what I'll do is I'll place that right here. I will take out a pinpoint barrier token. Give me a second. All right, we've got the pinpoint barrier token. And that's good because I don't know how we're going to kill all these cruisers. Now it's time for us to activate and order some destroids. Now let's take the first 2 mecha cards. We have 1 and 2. And let's see what we've got. So with regards to destroids, you can move 2, shoot 1, move 2, shoot 1. Now I don't think I actually necessarily want to move this guy. I would like to do damage to this cruiser. I don't like it. So that'll be this first card. And we can move this monster 1, 2 into production, and we can fire at 1. Let's focus on this objective here. We'll deal 1 damage, and that will resolve this next card. All right. And we've got 1 more action for Lisa. We'll spend it, and we can either fire the beam cannon. Well, we're no longer in the bridge, so we cannot fire 1 beam cannon. We also have to activate the destroids. Now, we can order a scout again, and we would have to done that in the bridge. So there's really not that much that we can do besides moving some Veritex, but none have been launched. It's tricky. You know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to use our action to gain 1 research point, because getting these to get some more resource cards is going to be clutch. All right, and that is Lisa's turn. So we're going to move on to the captain's turn. And it's going to be very simple for the captain. We got a cruiser. This thing's got to go down. Now, but don't forget, now we've moved to the captain's turn. The destroids can be reactivated. And what we're going to do is order 2 destroids because we've got those monsters out there, meaning they can potentially take out some of these ships. Let's see what we get. So with the top one, we can move 0 and do 1 damage. And then with this other one here, we can move 0 and do 2 damage. We can do some damage here. I'm pretty happy. Let's do 2 damage to the cruiser. And then we'll do 1 damage and take care of that last pod that is out there. And we will save the city center. So we've done it. Killed them all. Put these guys back in the bag over here. We have saved the city center. It is still Captain Global's turn. And we will spend an action to fire the railguns. We have now destroyed the Zentraedi cruiser. Oh, I'll get rid of this. But don't forget, it can still act on its turn. Put the damage back over here. He has 1 action left. Now we can order a Veritech. Can't really do much with that. Order 2 destroyers. We can fire the railguns again. But there's really not much else that we want to do. We can cool 1 reflex heat from the reactor, which would not be a bad idea because we're not in any shape to fire the reflex cannon. So we'll move 1 to the aft reactor. Oh, and also before I forget, I'm just going to give you an example. Captain Global can use his action to turn the ship. So his movement that I just did can be used to turn the SDF-1. I'm just going to move it back to where it was, but I neglected to mention that. We'll move into the reactor, and we're going to cool the reactor heat down to 6. And that is Captain Global's turn. So now we're on to Claudia. Now I didn't flip over any of the destroids. I knew they were used, so we are all good with regards to that. And let's see what we want to do. We need to do some repairs, but it's only really 1 damage, so we can move around and do repairs. I don't know why I didn't put 1 damage into production. That might have made more sense because she was right there to clean it up. But let's make the repairs. Claudia will move to Macross City. We'll repair that using one of our actions. And before we leave production, though, you know what? We need some more destroids. I didn't think of that. So this can only be done in production. It's co-op. Just forgot to do it. We'll put 2 destroids into production. And then we're going to go fix the science bay. Move 1 and fix science. Now we don't have to move. Again, we've only moved twice. We can use our 3rd movement. Now it's important to note that when you're moving your heroes around, you don't necessarily want to be in the area where enemies are. One of the reasons I distributed the damage as so was because none of my heroes were in those areas. If my heroes had been in those areas, they themselves would have taken damage as well. And the only way the command crew will take damage is if a pod charges all the way to the bridge. That is their goal, and that is where you get permanent negative loss conditions. All right, so we are done with Claudia's turn, and then we are down to the wing leader, Roy Fokker. Now, we've got to get our guys into space. We've got stuff to destroy. We still have this nasty thing here. Let's see what we can do. And you know what? I think I did actually make a mistake with Claudia. I didn't actually heal the science. So we're going to go back to Claudia's turn because looking at the situation, we really need to kill these cruisers. And I didn't order the 2 destroids. So I did not heal science. I only prepared Macross City. We're going back to Claudia's turn. I'm going to draw the card. We're going to activate the destroids. So we're going to use both of the monsters to deal 1 damage. We'll hit this thing again, and we'll flip over another one of these. Don't need that 2nd damage token. Now, the importance of potentially annihilating this guy is because they can charge and do lots of damage to the ship. So having 1 structure damage here is not the end of the world when we still got cruisers and battle pods that can come and attack us. All right, going back over here, it's Roy's turn. We're going to launch 3 Veritechs. That's just the first thing we got to do. And we want to make sure we launch the Super Veritechs. Now, they can be placed in any adjacent area. Now, I'm placing them there. We want to really try to get them over here. Now, the first thing we're going to do is use the Order 2 Veritechs. And we're going to order the Super Veritechs. So let's see what we get. Hopefully something good. Oh, not the greatest here, actually. But not bad. Now, don't forget with regards to the Super Veritechs, both these cards are identical. They are move 1 and deal 1 damage, and 3. They get to use both of these, meaning both Super Veritechs are going to move to engage the cruiser and then deal 2 damage to it. And now if we go back over to Roy, Roy can fire 1 railgun shot, and boom! We have successfully destroyed and defeated this Zentraedi cruiser. Put this thing back in the bag. Now, we really need to get rid of these other pods and get them out of the areas because these guys can't act anymore. We only have 2 actions left, meaning it's going to be difficult for us to potentially complete the secondary action unless we can somehow kill 1, 2, 3 enemies. Maybe possible. Let's see how we can try to do that. Now, Roy is able to move and inflict damage, which is what we're going to do. But we also maybe want to launch our last Veritech. So we'll actually do that. We're going to spend an action to launch our last Veritech, get it into space. And then we're going to use this action, last one, to order 2 Veritechs. Hopefully we'll get something good. Well, nice stuff. Unfortunately, not the greatest. So move 2, deal 1 damage. Move 0, deal 3 damage. Oof. Be nice if we had an extra action. But we do not, unfortunately. It would have been great to have a way to get those guys over. If we'd done something such as move 2 Veritechs 1 space, would have been just a great way to destroy almost all those guys. Now, there is something we can do, but we've already pulled these cards. There is Lisa's ability to give each hero an extra action marker. If we'd done that before, it would have made these 2 cards here better, but that is not the case. So we'll split up our Veritechs. We're going to move and deal 1 damage. So next we're going to move 2 and deal 1 damage because we want that guy to be destroyed. Move 2, deal 1 damage and annihilate this guy, placing him back in the bag. And we're now done the hero phase, but there's still a lot of stuff left, and I'm going to use Lisa's ability, Coordinate. Now we're going to spend this ability point, Goes back here. This actually gives each hero an extra action. Now, the rulebook is not clear if we can use stuff that we've already activated, but the fact that abilities can be used anytime during the hero phase. So even at the end of it, I'm going to say that, yeah, people can still can use their stuff again. We'll just clearing up these cards right here. And Captain Glovo will activate 2 Destroids, and let's see if we can clean some stuff up. We'll pull the 2 Destroids so we get 0 and 1, and this guy can do 2 and 1. Now, let's make sure these guys are listed as active again. We're going to move this guy 1, destroy one of these guys, back in the Zentraedi bag. And the monster will hit one of the guys, take him and put him back in the Zentraedi bag. That's at ranged. Now, clean these cards up. And we're then going to go over to Claudia's turn. And I didn't flip anything over on this board here because really we're just going to get to activate more so than anything else. You know what? It might be better for her to well, she can only order Destroids. That's right. I was thinking she might want to construct some stuff, but now we're going to order the Destroids. See what we get. Pull the top 2 cards. And we got a bad one. We can move 1 space, 0 and 1. And then we can do 1 and 1. Meaning, best thing we can do is maybe move a guy if we feel like it. We don't have to order him. But we're going to blast this guy in the back here. Put him back. And we're back. Sorry guys, the camera ran out of juice, so there's probably a slight fade out cut. We were just in the process of finishing off Claudia's attack with the Destroids. And she defeated one guy. We were defeating she only defeated one guy. We're defeating this battle pod, taking it over, putting it back into the bag. We moved one, and then we were discarding these 2 cards. And it is now Roy's turn. And Roy can inflict damage. Don't forget, he's in a Veritech. So we're actually going to move 1, because Roy really hasn't moved at all. We're going to spend this last action point to use inflict 1 damage, destroying this battle pod and putting him back in the bag. Now, this finishes up our hero phase, and we actually successfully managed to clean up everything in and around the SDF1, meaning there's not going to be a Zentraedi order phase because we successfully defeated all of the Zentraedi. Now, this doesn't happen too often, but we did a good job. Let's take a look at the scenario, which I will pull back out, and see what we get as a reward. Now, so what do we get? If all pods are destroyed by the end of the episode, gain 1 ability point and 1 research token. As you notice, these are the pods for the city center. The pods do not move off the token. And then with regards to defend the SDF1, there are no pods in our SDF1 areas by the end of the episode, gaining 1 ability point and 1 research token. Perfect. Now, to put this down, we gain 2 ability points. We actually gain 1. We're going to have to grab another one. We gain 2 research tokens. So, just reaching back off camera, guys. Drawing the next research token. I'll stack some more out onto the table. And that is it. So we've done the hero phase. There is no Zentraedi order phase. It is the cleanup phase, where we'd have to remove destroyed vessels, remove active tokens, remove any active cards. We've cleaned the objective rewards. We had no active cards. We would transform the SDF1 to cruiser mode, and then we pass the first player token to the left. Now, as we started with Lisa, this means that it's going to be Henry J. Glovo. I'm just not a fan of first player tokens. They often get me distracted, but we're going to be going into Glovo's turn. Now, what I'm going to do right now is we're going to go into the setup for episode 2, transformation, because I really want to show you guys the cool stuff. So, system shock. The SDF1 systems take damage due to the stress of the spaceful. But let's read those part of transformation. The captain orders a spaceful to draw the aliens away from Earth. The fold goes wrong, and the SDF1 appears near Pluto with much of Macross Island. The SDF1's engineers find a way to transform the cruiser into a weapon. Now, what we need to do is roll die. What happens? We roll the 2 any 2 heroes take 1 damage each. All right? I'm going to damage the heroes. In this case, we'll damage Lisa and Claudia. Loa doesn't do a lot, and Roy is often in combat. All right. So we transform the SDF1 into battle mode. So we're going to place the battle mode modder out there. Macross City takes 2 structure damage in the process. We need to draw 1 SDF1 incident card. All right. Now, we're going to set up what you guys have been waiting for. The SDF1 in battle mode. Now I'm going to reach around it. It's not going to be the easiest. To get the SDF1 incident card. So this event, 1 hero takes 1 damage and select 1 construct 2 mecha or cool 1d6 reflex heat. Now, just reaching over to straighten these out. Well, you know what? I think Roy will take a damage and we'll construct 2 mecha. I think we could use some more Veritex. Now, we'll discard this card and we will construct 2 Veritex. Which will place in the construction area, which you guys can't see because it's behind the SDF1. Let's go back to the scenario. All right. Now, the objectives. We need to explore the SDF1. Now, I'm not going to read this all out, but what happens is if at least 1 hero is in science, Macross City in the launch bay, we gain 1 ability point, 1 research token. We must place, so we've got to rescue Macross refugees. So we place the civilian shelter token. And apologize, guys, I did not clean up the city center, so we're going to have to be placing this. We will roll the die. And 5, so this will go in A5. And let's see what happens. Go back over here. So if there are 4 Veritex heroes included in the same area as the objective at the end of the episode, gain the following. All right, and then we need to draw 2 Zentraedi invasion cards. Well, kind of meshed 2 things together. What I'm going to do right now is we will cut. I'm going to remove the scenario far from home. And then we're going to come back with the start of the hero phase because we just kind of did the ending hero phase and the start and setup for episode 2. So keep it right here. We're going to be folding space and coming right back. And we're back. So we're just going to finish the play story phase setup. We need to draw these Zentraedi invasion cards. Just move this dice out of the way and we will draw the cards. So heroes in the bridge take a total of 3 damage distributed as the players choose. Zentraedi vessels, we get 1 cruiser in A1 plus 4 pods in A5. Now we've got the pods, picking them up. Pull out the cruiser. This cruiser goes into A1. We're going to get plus 4 pods. 2, 3, 4. Put this back down. And we will place them in A5. Oh, and you know what? I made a mistake with the shelter here. I put them in A6. I rolled a 5. A5 is here. And we will then deploy the pods. 2 and 2. And that is that Zentraedi thing. And that's like the next one, a thing, evasion. So, unstable procedure. If the Reflex cannon is fired in this episode, the SDF1 takes 2 structure damage. Heroes may take damage from this card. Well, that's not fun. We're not going to be able to fire the Reflex cannon. We get plus 1 cruiser A2 and another 4 pods in A5. So we've got our cruiser for A2. And our pods for A5. So we'll put this back down. And you notice that it was plus. It didn't just say 4 pods in A5, which would have been a lot nicer. And the cruiser, you guys may not be able to see it because it's behind the SDF1. I'm placing it there. So I'm going to keep this out for the moment. I'm going to place it just over here, actually on top of the Zentraedi orders for the moment, just to remind us that it's there. And we will now get rid of the Assassin Strikes card. Now, we've completed the story phase and we're ready to go into the hero phase. But what I want to do, because we were so effective last turn, is you guys did not get to see the Zentraedi phase. So we'll do a quick look at the Zentraedi phase. We'll draw some Zentraedi orders just in case we are as effective again with our next hero phase. So keep it right here and we'll be space folding back. Now we're going to take a quick look at a Zentraedi phase. I just removed the SDF1 in battle mode to not block anything. Let's remove the unstable procedure, just put it over here for now, and let's take a look at the Zentraedi orders. Now, we have our reference cards on the other camera that tell us what everything does, but I don't have the other camera active right now. So what happens is, these are the orders, and at the start of the Zentraedi phase, any unengaged pod becomes engaged with any RDF mechs that are there, meaning these two pods are engaged with the Veritex. Now, we're going to go from left to right, following the sequence of events. So the first thing we do is we take any pods that have that symbol, they advance 1, then deal 1 damage. Now that means they would move into Macross City. They would either deal damage to a Veritech or a Destroid if they were there. If a hero was there, they would also take damage, the same damage as Macross City. Now when damage is dealt, it gets dealt to the armor first, then the structure. Meaning Macross City in this case would take 2 armor damage. Now, if we look at these next orders for the ones that have that symbol, oh, I forgot this. This one would also damage Macross City because when they're in inner range, they also hit in the Earth's location. Now this symbol means disengage. They then rotate counterclockwise by 2. So if we're going counterclockwise by 2, these two would then be able to disengage from our Veritex. They move 2 over, moving them up to A1. After that, they would then advance. And that is their action. Now, these other guys would also advance and deal damage, meaning Macross City is just taking a pounding. It might even go offline. Now, next thing we get is the cruisers. So we take a look at the symbol on the cruisers. When we got 1 out there, we will follow, well, there's 2 out there. Let's just move 1 of them. So we follow what this means. Now, this means that the cruisers will slide over counterclockwise. Actually, we're going to do both. But we'll pretend that this one is a different, actually, you know what? They are different symbols. That's perfect. So this one will slide this way. What happens is this then does barrage. This deals 2 damage to the SDF1. And in the case where we have the pinpoint barrier, we could use the pinpoint barrier in that scenario. As you notice, this is defense, meaning it deals 2 damage around it. So for example, if these 2 Veritex were there, this cruiser would blow them up. Boom, bye, gone. Not good. Now, if we're looking at this cruiser, it actually does the ram, meaning it rushes into the inner space, and the ram actually clears off all armor, means there's no armor left on the science area. Then it would also do 2 damage as defense to the space around it. So that is what would happen in the Zentraedi phase. We would then clean up everything and go back to where it was. I'm just going to take this card, place it at the bottom. We're going to set everything back up the way it was, and we're going to start our hero phase. So keep it right here. We're space folding back. And we're back. I've just adjusted the SDF1. It's a little too far into Macross City, but I wanted to make sure you guys could see the whole thing. And it's now time for us to set up our heroes. Now their tokens were where they were last time, and I think we need to change things up. We're going to be needing to do a lot more with the Veritex, and I want Roy to have 7 actions. Lisa, she can order Destroid, she can order Scouts. Yeah, Lisa we want with 5, and we'll leave it as so. Let's set up the actions. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 with Roy. Now, Lisa has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get 3 for our captain, and Once again, 3 for Claudia. Now, before we go too far, I just want to give you guys an example of what would happen if we, for example, decided to rush and fire the reflex cannon. Now, Captain Global, as he would start, could decide to move the SDF-1, and then we're able to use fire. The reflex cannon will destroy anything in the first 2 firing arcs. Now, what would then happen is we would roll 2d6, then add that to the heat. Now, in this case, it's not a good idea because we would misfire. Our areas take 1 damage, but let's just pretend it was successful. That means everything in this area gets annihilated. Veritech gets destroyed. Roy ends up going what is known as MIA. And we would actually have to then replace Roy's hero with another hero. Also, at the start of the hero phase, if you'd like, you can replace a hero with a different hero. That's what Julie and I did in our playthrough, specifically to upgrade Rick Hunter. Now, that's just an example. Just want to show you guys that. We're still going to keep things as is. We are not firing the reflex cannon, but that would annihilate everything. So there'd be no more ships. The scout actually needs to go back over here to the scout pile. But it'd be a great way to go to the Zentraedi cruisers or potentially annihilate all of these pods. But we're too heated up and things aren't looking the best. Let's place the ship where it is and see what we want to do. Now, we'll move the dice. Captain Global is our starting character this turn. And before I forget, we need to deploy our destroids. And we've got 2 Veritechs in the hangar now. I'm going to place them both there. We've got that's where we need to get them. All right. Now for Captain Global, I think ordering 2 destroids is probably the best way to start. Let's draw our mecha orders, see what we get. Oof. 1, 0, and 2 and 1. Well, that's really not the greatest thing. This is a great scout card, unfortunately. Well, if we can move a mecha 1, nothing. Let's move. Something. Well, we'll move this destroid over 1 and get rid of that card. We can move another one 2. So let's move the monster here, and we'll shoot at the capital ship, dealing 1 damage. Get rid of the card. It's now Global's turn. We can fire the railgun if we want. I'm going to try to order the destroids again. See what we get. And not bad. So we have destroids. Move 1, deal 2 damage. Move 2, deal 1 damage, as we don't need to move. Let's just fire. We've got a perfect arc to take out that cruiser. And it deals 3 damage, meaning the cruiser is destroyed. Now, we did some good stuff. We essentially destroyed a cruiser. It, however, was not annihilated. And I know I didn't flip over the guys on this, but it doesn't matter. It's now Claudia's turn. And let's see what we can do. Repairs would be very nice. And we want to repair the population of Macross City. Claudia is presently in science. Now, we have actually not used our free resource, so let's actually draw, oops, hit the SDF-1 there, our SDF-1 research card. So, during the episode's situation phase, you may place 1 Zentraedi invasion card drawn with the next face down card. That's a pretty cool card. We'll keep that for next phase, but we need to do some repairs. Let's move to Macross City. We're also in science, right? No, we're just going to repair with... no, we're not going to just repair. We got to shoot some stuff down. So we're going to move over to Macross City. We are going to spend 2 to repair 3 structure damage right here. Then we're going to spend our last one to order 2 destroids. But she's also going to move. We don't necessarily want to be right there where they're attacking. Don't need to take any more damage. We'll move another 1, another 2 over to the launch bay. And I left Roy MIA. Apologies, guys. That was from our example. Roy should have been over there in A2 and beam cannon range. Now let's draw the two destroids. Oh, wow. So we can move 1 and 1 and then 0 and 3. That's pretty cool. Actually, that means, you know what? We're not even going to do anything. We're just going to fire the monsters from where they are. And straight up, get rid of the cruiser. We don't want to deal with that anymore. We'll put it back in the bag. Successful turn. And now it is Roy's turn. We've got a lot of stuff to do. And hopefully we'll be able to kick some butt. Now the first thing Roy is going to do, actually, Roy is going to move 1, 2, 3 into this location. That is it. So that is all of his movement. Now what we're going to actually do here is we're going to launch. We can move 2 Veritex, 1 space, but let's launch the Veritex that are here. Let's get them in play. I'm going to order 2 Veritex. Hopefully we get something good. Alright, so what do we get here? With Veritex, 0, 1, or 2, 0, or 0 and 2 damage. Well, we get to decide what we're going to do. So for this one, I'm going to move this Veritech 2. Get him over here. I'm going to flip him over to say he's been activated. Now we've got the other one that does 2 damage to the area that it's in. And we're just going to straight up deal 2 damage to these guys. And we're going to flip over this Super Veritech. But actually, sorry, he gets both orders, meaning he can deal a total of 3 damage. So we'll deal 3 damage with the Super Veritech. And he's not going to move. I like where he is. And we're going back to Roy. Once again, we're going to order 2 Veritex. See what we get. Very not good this time. 0, 1 and 0, 1 is the best thing that we can do. Or you can move a Veritech to 0. Now, we're going to move this Veritech to get him here. And we got one that we can move, do 0 and 1 damage. Just not good. Let's move this other Veritech. 1, 2. Actually, I don't know. I don't like that. We should just do the 1 damage. Why not? We'll deal 1 damage with our Super Veritech. It's not the best thing to do, but it is the most efficient. Now we're back once again. What do we want to do? Let's order up some Veritex again. Maybe we'll get something good. We can use this guy potentially. All right. Well, 1, 0. That's just terrible. And then 1, 0. So we got nothing good. We're going to move our guy, and we're going to move our guy here. Now, what we can do, though, with Roy is use one of his abilities. Let's flip the guy over. So let's take a look at Roy's abilities. You can do all non-hero Veritex in Roy's area inflict 1 damage to each area. We're actually going to use that because this is going to be really good. So we'll put that back over here, meaning these 3 guys deal 1 damage. So boom, boom, and boom. We've then destroyed a whole bunch of these guys. Now Roy himself can inflict 1 damage. And we've got those guys destroyed. We still have 2 more actions. We can actually fire the railgun if we want, but I don't think that's the best thing to do. I think the best thing in this case would be either to construct a Veritech or heal 1 pilot damage, heal himself. But you know what? I like killing stuff. We're going to spend 2, and we're going to annihilate these guys doing 2 damage, and just getting rid of them, placing them back in the bag. Actually, you know what? We should have actually, doesn't really matter. I'm just going to shift these 2 guys up, because Roy really should have moved the extra 1 to get rid of the guys that are further away from the destroids. Because we're coming up onto Lisa's turn, and she's a lot better at that. Now, it's Lisa's turn. We will reactivate all of our guys. And the first thing we're going to do is use an ability point here to trigger the Daedalus maneuver, which inflicts 8 damage to a Zentraedi capital ship. We're in battle mode. And boom, the cruiser in A1 is destroyed. Now, we can fire up some destroids, and I think that's the best thing to do. So we will order 2 destroids. Hopefully we get something good. Let's see. So 1 and 2 and 0 and 1. And we can deal 3 damage right in front of us right here. And I think that is actually very good, because we can get rid of 3 of the Zentraedi pods. I'll place these guys back in the box. Flip over these guys. And it's still Lisa's turn. That was her first action. I think we want to maybe draw another resource card, but we also want to get back to the bridge so we can scout. We may also want to lower the reflex heat. So that might actually be the better thing, so we can potentially fire this cannon as things get a lot trickier. So we're going to move to the forward section. We will trigger the resource center to lower reflex heat down to 4. That was one movement. We're going to move 1, 2 more. You'll notice right there that there's a connector from the bridge to production in there. So we are able to cut across it. It is a straight solid line, not a corner. We're then going to order up a scout. We're obviously going to scout location with the most battle pods. And take a look. Now this is great. Inflict 2 damage to the area, or pods cannot advance or slide into this area. We're just going to destroy them with that. Place them back into the bag here. And she's in the bridge. We'll spend 1 action to fire a beam cannon. And boom. We've successfully, putting that over here, destroyed all of these things. Now we still have 1 action point, which we might as well use to gain a research token. Now, we haven't really talked about these and what to do with these. I think it's a great way to sort of end off our how to play. Now, when you have the resource tokens, you can spend a total of 5 of them to draw cards, or you can spend a total of 3 of them to draw cards. Now, if you spend 3 resource tokens, you draw 2 of the SDF1 resource cards and get to keep 1. If you spend 5, you draw 3 and get to keep 2. So we will spend 5 of them. We'll just see what we have at the top 2. So active. In SDF1 areas, each mecha inflicts 1 damage when executing orders. Place 2 Veritex in any inner area, or use this card to cancel the effects of the Kamikaze's Zentraedi Invasion card. Not the best. Let's see what we have here. The SDF1 can be made to face any direction. Cool 3 reflex cannon heat. That's pretty neat. Nothing great though. Now the fact that we can place 2 Veritex in inner area is cool because we can reposition the guys. So we're gonna discard this one. We're gonna execute these 2. Place these guys in an inner area over here. Just don't want them in the outer area anymore. We're going to cool 3 reflex heat. We're not going to necessarily reposition the SDF1. We don't really know what angle would be useful. So cooling down the heat. And we've gone ahead, we've done it. We've defeated all the Zentraedi again. There is no Zentraedi phase. There's no cleanup. We just annihilated everything. And we would now be going into episode 3. So we're going to cut right here, guys. I think we've shown you enough about how to play the game, and we'll be back with our review of the game. So Robotech Attack on the SDF1.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the game?
So this is a little bit of a different game than what we've played recently.
Yes, not a lot of.
Also, no
Lots of dice chucking recently.
And not a lot of card deck building.
No.
This game is definitely a little bit long. And I think part of the reason why it feels this long, because we've played longer games. I mean, Descent is pretty long as well. This one is...
No, Descent scenarios are definitely shorter than one full scenario in Robotech.
So, I mean, if I start with the negative, I would say, I found it slow and I kept waiting for something to happen. I just kept waiting for something exciting, and it never really drew me into anything. I didn't feel like there was a whole lot going on for the amount of time that we played. It felt particularly easy. I didn't really ever feel like we were in any danger of losing the game, and I know you're going to say we pulled some lucky cards, but that happens in a lot of games that we play.
Yes.
And
you pulled probably one of the best cards. Upgrading some of our mechs to the ones that can hit the cruisers and long range right away was a huge bonus.
I still think we would have won. I mean,
Yes.
we never even took any damage.
We took a bunch of damage at the end.
Ourselves.
Yeah, but it's not about the heroes. It's about protecting and preventing damage to the ship.
Okay.
Because you do lose the game if, for example, an area takes overkill damage, meaning it gets fully damaged out, then those will pile up to do the final loss conditions. But I do see what you're saying. We never once got to that point where we actually took any permanent damage to the ship.
Right. What I can say that I did like about it is I like that each of the heroes has a different ability that can be good at different times of the game, and that the actions that you take, you can distribute them depending on what you need to do to different people. So you can split it up evenly, or you can have one hero take more actions if their ability is a little bit more clutch at that point. So I thought that was cool. The art is nice looking. It was nice to play it, and I like the production value of the cards. But I think all of those positives for me were a little bit outweighed by the fact that it was a slow game, which what I felt was not a lot of action.
No, and I can definitely see your point. It's definitely a long game. I'm also going to start out with the negatives. So negatives for me, I learned the game, and it was a process. The rulebook is dated. Japanime games, you guys really need to take a look at modern style of making rulebooks. Look at Fantasy Flight games, some CMON games, because this rulebook, is all rules, very light on the teaching, which did not make for a very enjoyable experience for learning the game.
I haven't heard you complain about a rulebook that much since Kick-Ass, I think.
Yeah, this one was actually probably worse than the Kick-Ass rulebook, whereas that one had some glaring omissions. Well, not necessarily omissions, just kind of hidden in there. It was all in there. This one, there is definitely some omissions. The training scenario booklet just gets a complete and utter 0 for me. It's more of a guide to how to use the characters in an actual training scenario. There are no objectives, nothing to set up. It's just like, hey, take your character, here's the situation, which really rubbed me the wrong way. I thought it was going to help me get into the flow of the game, and I just decided to set up the first scenario, took out the training book, and was like, okay, I'm just going to follow this for each character to get an idea of what I should be doing. Now, that's the big dislike, is the rule book and the presentation of the rules. It can make it very challenging for someone that is not an experienced gamer to learn the game. For me to get through the whole thing properly and play the game and then teach Julie, I would say it was probably about a good 3-4 hours, maybe even a little more that I spent on it, reading the rules, playing a full game. Yeah, so 3-4 hours definitely is about what it took. Now, the other complaint I have is the components. Well, Julie said the art and the production value is very nice, and I gotta say, for most of it, it is. The standees don't stay together very well, and my SDF1, the big, nice cardboard cutout, is already starting to show some wear and some damage because just the way that it fits together. And that is the thing that I do not enjoy. It's also a little difficult to get everything back in the box properly, unless you want to dismantle the SDF1 every single time. But other than that, I would say the art, I really like it. The art definitely feels like Robotech. It brings me back to watching the show in the late 80s. And even rewatching it as I did a couple of years back, it also feels very modern, and with the coloring and the scheme reminds me of the other newer Robotech stuff like the Shadow Chronicles and some of the comic books. So when it comes to the art and putting together something that looks and feels like Robotech, the game scores an A+. Now, let's move on from the negatives. Let's talk about the positives. This game is the Macross saga of Robotech in a box all the way through to the Zentraedi Rebellion. This is probably my favorite Robotech game that I've played because it's cooperative. It feels like the show. You're under pressure, you're under duress, and you got to work together as a team to beat the Zentraedi and save the day. And the game does that very well. Every character feels different. They definitely match their characters from the show, and I really enjoyed that. There's also some nice little touches that Japanime Games and Strange Machine Games did for some of the components, like Ray Folker's base is literally Skull 1. When you see Max and Rick's base for their characters, they're also their fighters from the show. So I really like all of the touches to get you into the world. But like Julie said, though, and just reiterating what she mentioned earlier, is that the game is slow. This is a 2 hour to 2 hour plus game. Now, you can play with 5 players. I don't know if I'd want to play with 5 players. I think 2 to 4 players is about it. I think 5 players, you might actually be adding extra on to the game. And the game actually does seem to have a scenario and a campaign, which we really enjoy. We made some decisions at the end of the game, which Julie was kind of looking at me sideways, like, why are you doing this? Why are you replacing your captain? But wanted to upgrade Rick Hunter to take him into the next scenario. So we're going to still play this. We've got 2 more full scenarios to go through, and then the special missions. Maybe I'll end up doing the special missions myself, but we'll play through the rest of the game. But going back again to the rulebook, there are no official rules for carrying stuff on in the campaign. There's some instructions at the end of the rulebook, but they're not very, not rulebook, the scenario book, but they are not very clear. So, all in all though, I think this game is a great Robotech experience. It is fairly simple. I think we can both agree on that. Like, once you actually figure out what you're doing, this is not the most challenging game to learn and take actions on.
No, it's pretty easy. It's, like I said, just a little slow.
Yeah. And the fact that different people get different amount of actions, well, that's very cool. It can make it so that certain people aren't acting. I think that's really where you get the slow comment from. That first few rounds, you pretty much had all the tokens. You were taking like most of the actions, and then as we got into later round where we're trying to shoot everything down, like it was Roy, that my character, that had all of the actions, and you were like, this is not nearly as enjoyable as when you're
but even then we've played other games that have a little bit more suspense and action to them. I don't have the advantage of being a Robotech fan and of loving the game for the IP.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just playing it for the game mechanics, and they're not bad. I mean, I didn't hate the game. I just, it's not my favorite game. I won't be begging you to put this on the table like other games.
Like Legendary Encounters, X-Files, and Descent.
Or, check out our holiday guide. If you haven't, you'll see what recommendations and games I keep begging Jason to put on the table. But back to Robotech. Are you ready to give it a rating?
I'm ready to give it a rating, despite a lot of the negatives, and I think we kind of harped on the game a little more than we normally do, especially if we're going to potentially not give the game a bad score. But I think the reason why we both did that is because this game isn't for everyone. And based on the accessibility, I would say is one thing that I think the game is a little less accessible than it could be. And because of that, this game could have easily been an 8. It is definitely a 7. This game is 7. It's a solid game. I enjoy it. I want to play it again. But there is definitely elements of it that feel dated, while there are elements that feel very modern that we enjoy as well. It is a slog. You're playing 5 episodes. It takes about 2 hours, so that brings it about to 25 minutes an episode or so?
I don't know. It just seemed like the game went on forever for me.
It felt it was also our first learning game. Sometimes we actually try to play the game like multiple times, but this game probably equaled the playthrough of considering I played it once and then played it with Julie, probably got some more gaming on this than we do on some other games before we get in front of the camera.
So for me, the game is a 6.5, and it's a 6.5 leaning on a 6, but I'm going to give it a 6.5 because there are other games that I've given a 6 that I really didn't enjoy as much as this one. So, 6.5.
All right, guys. So you've seen our thoughts on Robotech Attack on the SDF1. If you are a Robotech fan, pick this one up. I do think you're going to quite enjoy the game. Just be ready that you're not going to get it to the table easily like that first time. Do not bring this to game night without having prepared. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
So right about now, you should be seeing links to other videos, including the other Robotech game that we've reviewed in the past. And don't forget, comment, like, subscribe. We always like hearing from you.
Yeah, and while we didn't quite enjoy that other Robotech game as much as this one, they are coming up with a co-op version, well, not necessarily a version of that game, co-op scenario for the Invid Invasion. Looking forward to that one, and that one's by Solar Flare Games. And it's time for us to
grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend.
We're going to keep playing games.
We're definitely going to keep playing games.
Maybe just not this one right away.
Well, we'll definitely play it again, but I understand your point with regards to...
we have a lot of Descent to finish, you know.
Yeah, we do have a lot of Descent, and we've got family coming. This is definitely not the game to get out in front of the family, but maybe I'll find some other Robotech fans and get that out with them.